good evening. Welcome to Meet the Candidates Night, sponsored by the Leadership Troy Alumni. My name is Tom Dunn. I'll be your moderator this evening. Assisting with tonight's forum will be your timekeeper, Jack Hoekstra. Candidates, he's sitting at the media table and he'll be giving you the high time when it's time to quit speaking. I also like to thank Steve Baker for doing all the work necessary to put this evening together. Thanks to WPTW, both AM and FM, for broadcasting this live, and for Troy Community Television, who's here videotaping this event. If everyone would please stand, the flag is over there. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have one contested race we're focusing on this evening, that being for the United States House of Representatives, 8th District. We have 3 candidates for this position: James Condit Jr., Warren Davidson, and Corey Foister. Tonight's forum will be divided into 3 separate activities. First, each candidate will be given 3 minutes from which he can give opening statements from here at the podium. They will speak in alphabetical order. Candidates, you're reminded we will hold you strictly to the 3-minute time limit, so make sure you watch Mr. Hoekstra, and when you reach 3 minutes, if you're still talking, I'll ask you to stop. We'll then have a question and answer session that will be conducted by our media representatives sitting at the media table. They have they put some questions together for you, but they will also be taking questions from the audience. So audience members, if you have any questions, jot them down, and one of our runners will come and get you. Our people at the media table are Josh Byers from the Troy Daily News, Matt Bayman from MyMiamiCounty.com, and Scott Hornberger from Troy Community Radio. After the question and answer portion of the evening, candidates, you will then be given 2 minutes for closing comments, and you'll be giving those comments from your seat. So the 3-minute opening will be from the podium, and the rest of the evening will be given from the seat. The total time for this will be limited to 60 minutes, so we will all be out here at 8:30 p.m. Again, candidates, make sure you watch Mr. Hoekstra. So the first of our 3 candidates to speak will be Mr. James Condit Jr. Mr. Condit.
Thank you very much. I'm the candidate for the Green Party, but they're not that happy with me, and I'm not that happy with them. If I had to pick somebody nationally that I would identify with, not that they're endorsing me, it would be Pat Buchanan and Ron Paul. The legislator, though, reversed what Jennifer Brunner, the Secretary of State of a few years ago, did, and forced all the minor parties off the ballot except for the Green. So you'll see my message tonight is a little different than what you're used to hearing. So I'm using the only party available. And the Green Party, like liberals gone wild, had at the top of their platform, no part of this platform binds any candidate at any level. So that was my get-out-of-free card. I'm probably the only pro-life, 100% pro-life Green Party candidate in history, and I'm probably the only one that doesn't believe in man-made global warming. In fact, I think man-made global warming is a total hoax. The two issues I'll talk about up here that I think people need to realize is there is a money power. In the movies, they'll say, follow the money, in sports or something. Let's follow it at the top of the world. Goldman Sachs, the Federal Reserve Board. This has broken forth a little bit into the public that both parties at the top have become too much the same. This is why the rise of Trump, why the rise of Bernie Sanders. Not that I like any of his socialism, but this is why this is happening. There's a money power that controls the top of both parties. That's why it seems like they're both, the Republicans are letting Obama get by with anything. He's legislating every day, and they're not impeaching him or doing anything to stop him. And so the same agenda rolls on. That has to be, on my website, you don't have to remember too much, but on my website, just remember my website, Let Freedom Ring 2016. It kind of rhymes. LetFreedomRing2016.com. Documentation page is more than a college education for someone that has not had a chance, or maybe even if you've studied history, you haven't seen this stuff. So on there, you'll find 2 videos near the top called, one's called The Secret of Oz, the other called Money Masters by Bill Still, and a very objective name with no name calling. I might get into some name calling tonight, not of my worthy opponents, but of some of the people at the national level. But there's no name calling in the Money Masters and Let Freedom and the Secret of Oz tell about how this money power is controlling our country more and more. We got to reverse it. Secondly, I'll get into false flags later. False flags is when one group does something and blames it on another, but I got less than a minute. We also have the positive solutions. The average person should get involved in the precinct and get into their precinct, get into their parties, and kick out most of these party leaderships at the county level, change the parties, change the Congress, get back to the Constitution. And the Federal Reserve should be terminated, replaced with a national monetary system that will issue money properly. Hopefully we'll get into that in the answers. Thank you.
Mr. Davidson.
Thanks, Tom. Well, thank you all for coming out tonight. It's an honor to be in front of you guys again. It's a little smaller crowd than in March, but thanks for the interest. I'm glad there's some folks that know there's an election on June 7th, and it's an honor to be on the ballot as the Republican candidate. Slightly less crowded field this time. And I'm looking forward to having some dialogue on the issues. You know, this is a great town to call home. My wife Lisa is out there. Hopefully you guys get a chance to know her. My son Zach, my daughter Rachel, my folks Earl and Sue. Many of you guys know them. We've called Troy home since June of 2000. So this year our daughter will graduate from Troy High School. Our son's a sophomore at Troy Christian. And this is a community that is just heavily involved in just loving our country. It's a Republican community by and large, but we're passionate about not just the party, but about ideas. And we really look forward to sharing the ideas. Ideas are really what won the Cold War. So if you look at 1989, I was privileged to be an enlisted soldier in Germany when the wall came down. That was the highlight of my time in uniform. That spanned from post-high school when I graduated from Sydney High School in 1988 to when I got out as a captain in 2000. But in his lifetime, Ronald Reagan said, freedom's never more than one generation away from extinction. And to look at a race this year where we've got an open socialist who's won 21 states, it doesn't just sound like political rhetoric. This is stuff that has happened universally in spite of what's happened historically all over the planet. Simple math, addition and subtraction. It's an idea that seems contagious. So we really need to get out there and share our ideas. Our ideas are the right ideas. They're the path that's going to save our country. They're the ideas that have led to the founding of our country. And they're encapsulated in our Constitution, which used to be the document that bound our country together. So I hope we get the chance to serve. June 7th, there's another election. I'd love to earn your vote and the votes of your friends and neighbors who can't be here tonight. And for me, it'd be like returning to active service when I wore the uniform. So the Constitution needs to be first and foremost at protecting our liberties, all of them, and hope to get the chance to go there. So thanks a lot, and hope you enjoy the evening.
Mr. Foister.
Well, first, I just want to say thanks, everybody, for coming out. It's really, when you guys come out, that's what makes democracy so great. Because I always say I'm a political science major from Northern Kentucky University. When our citizenry doesn't pay attention, it reflects with Washington, D.C. So thank you all for coming out, and thanks Troy for high school for hosting this event tonight. My name's Corey Foister. I'm the Democratic nominee for the 8th District. I'll tell a little bit about myself. When I was 6 months old, I was diagnosed with stage 4 neuroblastoma. I was given a 50% chance of living, and with the grace of God, I was able to beat this horrible disease. And, you know, Ohio really leads the country in childhood cancer, and I think that's awful. That's one of the things that got me in this race, because pediatric cancer doesn't really get enough coverage. So I'm actually dedicating my race to all cancer survivors. But, we talk about, this race, it's all about, conservative, liberal, both sides, but there's stuff that brings us together. There really is. I really want to focus, if I'm elected, I want to focus on cybersecurity because we don't care when our identity is stolen. We don't care if it's a Republican helping us or a Democrat helping us. We need to seriously focus on cybersecurity because every time you look on the evening news, you'll see that Russia, China, all these other places are stealing our information, our social security number, everything. And it's just awful. Washington has no plan for it. And that's one of the things I'd like to address. And also, I don't think anybody noticed because it's not really a big talked about issue, but infrastructure. This week is actually Infrastructure Week. And, right down because I'm from Butler County, I've lived my whole life in Fairfield, Ohio, which is right on the border of the 1st District. And we got the Brent Spence Bridge down there on the Ohio River, and I go down it every single day, especially when I was going to Northern Kentucky University, and we need to fix that bridge. Infrastructure, cybersecurity, all these issues. It's the social issues, they divide us, but they're not important. We need to seriously look. I'm going to bring back jobs, repair our infrastructure, and address cybersecurity. So I ask for your support, and thank you all for coming out tonight.
Okay, we'll move to the question and answer section of the evening, and we'll start with Mr. Byers. First question.
No matter which one of you wins, it will be the first time since 1990 that someone other than John Boehner represents the 8th Congressional District. What type of challenges will you face in terms of following such a long-standing representative?
Mr. Davidson.
Well, the real challenge has been is going to be to connect with the whole district. I think as I've spent really all of 2016 campaigning effectively, people were honored to have the Speaker of the House as our representative. Even people that didn't necessarily agree with some of his positions thought, wow, Speaker of the House, he's our rep. But as time went on, it started to feel for most people like, well, do we have a representative because all his energy was consumed with being the speaker? And so I think people are hungry to have a representative that's out, connected to the communities, listening to them, and we're sending more of Ohio 8 to D.C. and less of D.C. back to Ohio 8.
Mr. Foister.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Butler County was the main focus. Even people in Butler County, because I'm from there, I'm from Fairfield, we felt like Boehner basically focused more on Westchester than especially the rest of Butler County. And I can only imagine how, outside of Butler County, people felt that they weren't getting their voices out, they weren't getting heard. So that's a big focus. Another big focus I definitely want to focus on is getting back to the district. Getting jobs, bringing stuff back, actually not focusing on my career, but instead focusing on my, everybody in this district. So it's basically that's creating new jobs and bringing back, just being in the district, being present in the district, because nobody ever saw Boehner.
Mr. Condit.
Well, I think that is all good, and it would be good to have people from the congressional office go on and regularly hold neighborhood meetings, especially with leaders. Sometimes it's hard to get crowds out, but I think mainly the people in the 8th District of Ohio, like every other district, they're crying for leaders to tell them what in the heck is going on. Why, in the greatest age of plenty in the history of mankind, we got more goods and services than ever before. This is the era that mankind dreamed of for all of the 6,000 years of recorded history, and yet so many people are under financial duress. They want to understand what's happening. And I only got a few seconds left, well, maybe in the other answers, but they want to hear what's happening. And that is, again, why the rise of Trump, why the rise of Sanders. And I will tell them what's happening in some ways that you probably won't hear elsewhere.
Mr. Bayman.
This question is from the audience. What is your position on the reversal of the Citizens United decision of the United States Supreme Court?
Mr. Foister.
I totally am against Citizens United. I think it was an awful ruling, and I think it needs to be overturned, and that's one of the first things I want to do in Washington, because I don't think it's a Republican or a Democratic issue. We shouldn't have big money in politics, whether it be with labor or with corporations, especially when you don't even know who's donating. We have dark money now running the campaigns, and it's just, dark money decided the Republican primary. So it's scary. There's so many great ideas out there, but whoever has the most money wins. Politics isn't about who has the best ideas, and I think that's what it should be about. It shouldn't be about who has the most money.
Mr. Condit.
Actually, I would agree with Mr. Foister's provisions of Citizens United are horrible, and they're again made to concentrate up in the 1%. Now, if you listen to Fox News, and I like Fox better than MSNBC or CNN, you'd think there's only vulture capitalism, which is what we're getting, and socialism. No, there's a middle road. We call it American National Credit. And what getting back to Citizens United did, though, what they did is say people can give unlimited amounts of money. So you got this fellow, Sheldon Adelson, this big casino guy, who said he's going to give $100 million to Trump's campaign. $100 million? That nullifies all of this. So what it used to be is, in the America I knew, to quote The Sound of Music, he said in the Austria country I knew, there was like a $5,000 limit to presidential campaigns, maybe $20,000 to PACs. That's what it should be. It should all be in sunlight, no dark money, but not where somebody who maybe has clawed their way to the top illegitimately, like I think Sheldon Adelson has, can cancel out 50 to 100 million Americans. So Citizens United was, again, this money elite.
Thank you. Mr. Davidson.
Citizens United is poorly understood and frequently mischaracterized. We just saw it by two people mischaracterized here. So if you listen to the two previous sound bites, you would think there are no limits on campaign finance. There are limits. It's $2,700 per individual per campaign. I'm able, as a candidate, the candidate is able to give an unlimited amount of money. But if anybody in this audience wants to donate to our campaign, which you're welcome to do, you can give $2,700 per campaign. In this cycle, there's 4, so you can give 4 times $2,700. Groups have taken the place of parties. So because parties really quit fighting for a lot of ideas, parties a lot of time had a lock on power. So outside groups started saying, no, we stand for this issue. And so people are what make up groups. By and large, that's where the money is. You point to a handful of iconic people. But what really happens is, if you look at your neighbors down the street, maybe they're part of Family Research Council or another group, and they donate $50 or $100.
Next question, please. Mr. Hornberger.
Hi, Scott Hornberger, Troy Community Radio, 107.1 FM. Let's fast forward a little bit. Inauguration Day 2017, Donald Trump is taking the oath of office as our next president of the United States. One of you is in Congress. President Trump wants to keep his promise to build a wall in the U.S.-Mexican border, and he wants to keep his promise to keep all Muslims, or put a ban on all Muslims entering the United States. Do you support these policies? If so, why?
Mr. Condit.
Okay, I want to acknowledge Mr. Davidson corrected me properly. Those big donors have to give it to political action committees and groups, not to the campaign. I support Trump in both of those things. One, the wall is good. We have had behind the people's back by a few special interest groups like AIPAC, the American Israel Political Action Affairs Committee, forced and sneaky immigration into this country. I'm for a ban on all immigration for 10 years. Now, as far as letting Muslims come in and out of the country, that would have to be done on you'd have some exceptions. Trump said you'd have some exceptions. But I'm for a ban, like Ann Coulter is, on all immigration because this has been done sneakily. Anchor babies should be undone. These are policies like Trotskyite communists, like Barack Obama. These policies are meant to destroy our country. They're not just stupid, making mistakes. They're trying to destroy this country. So,
Mr. Davidson.
It really depends on the details for the wall. Immigration is a national security issue first and foremost. So I agree that if you don't have a border that's enforced, you don't really have control of your country. And we clearly don't have that situation right now. So the wall in and of itself won't accomplish that. It'll just be a big piece of rock on a border. The French had the Maginot Line. It didn't really keep them very safe. So it really depends on the wall. I am for a strong national security policy, including on the southern border. And with respect to preventing all Muslims from coming into the United States, I'm not for a ban on Muslims traveling to the United States. I am in favor, however, of knowing who's coming into our country and why they're coming here, where they came from. And 40+% of the people that are here illegally right now came in legally with visas from countries all over the world, sometimes from Europe, but maybe they're, why did they come? They stay over the visa.
Thank you.
You have to track them.
Okay, Mr. Foister.
If Donald Trump wants an infrastructure bill, I'll give him one. But let's be honest about the wall. The wall is a waste of money, okay? It costs about $12 billion, okay? You know how much we could do with $12 billion? We could totally rebuild so many bridges, so many failing waters, like the saying out there in Flint, Michigan. We could repair that. So a wall is just a waste of money because I've talked to people. They're going to go either through it, over it, or through it, over it, or above it. So it's pointless. The whole wall is pointless, and he keeps on talking about how he's going to raise it up. It's just a waste of money. And we need to focus on what we've already had built. There's so much more stuff we can build, like clean energy, solar panels, all this stuff. And as for the immigration question, Muslims are people. I believe this country shouldn't legislate free will of people, no matter what the religion is. That's what made America so great. You can be Jewish, you can be Christian or Muslim.
Mr. Byers, next question.
This question is from the audience. Please comment on the decision to keep Muirfield Golf Club an all-male bastion. Do you favor the strategy of denying Muirfield the privilege of hosting the Open Championship as a means of pushing for the inclusion of women?
Mr. Davidson.
It's not a national issue. It's up to the people that run Muirfield Golf Course. I don't think Congress or the president needs to decree anything on that.
Mr. Foister.
Well, I think we should always make stuff fair, equality. I don't really think there's nothing that really Congress could do about a golf course. Like I said, there's more important issues. We start talking about stuff like this, and it's like, well, if we want to talk about equality, how about equal pay for equal work? And, we're one of the only countries in the world that doesn't have paid leave, and it's awful. If we want to include women, in society and make it fair, then those are both great projects that we should vote on, but we don't.
Mr. Condit.
That is something that I would have to be shown a lot to try to interfere with that type of a thing, where it's just a club and people can join other clubs of the same thing. The federal government should not be for instance, the federal government should not be saying that anatomical men can go into women's bathrooms. My brother-in-law came with a good idea. He said maybe Target and places like that could build an outhouse in the back, and those men who couldn't tell if they were men or not could all go out there. So I'm not for the federal government intruding in either way when it's something like that. There's other organizations in the United States that not only exclude women, but segregate the races, like the Masons, the Freemasons. The Masons segregate whites only in this lodge, blacks only in this lodge. If somebody really is tough and they want to really get into something, why don't they challenge the Masons on opening a Masons up the women's and the white lodges and black lodges integrating? Try to get that one done.
Next question, please.
Okay, you can't do anything about the golf course, but what, as a congressman, could you do about the opiate and heroin problem locally and nationally?
Mr. Foister.
Well, I think the first thing is it doesn't even really start with Congress. It starts with all of us. We got to change our attitude. When people have a drug problem, we can't shame them. We can't just say, you're a terrible person, you might steal from me, stuff like that. We all have to change our attitude. We have to be kind to one another. It's, some things, there's always like a magical, thing that we can do in Congress to pass this or pass that, but really all of us can do something today, and it's just be nice to people, be, more acceptance to people and help out people. But there's a lot of things we could do. We could, spend a lot more money on that. If we spend so much money, we give a blank check to go over to wars over in the Middle East. Why don't we spend here? Why don't we have more centers to help people? So there's a lot we could definitely do, but it starts with changing of people's attitude and how we treat people.
Mr. Condit.
This is one place I do not agree with Ron Paul. I'm for the total outlawing of drugs. Now, I know people can grow marijuana and smoke it in their own farm or whatever, but and people can do a lot of things, but the law is a teacher. For the sake of the young people 18, drugs must be driven underground, must be stigmatized. Of course, a lot of people are still going to get away with it. There needs to be a real war on the distributors of drugs. That's one reason why the wall does make some sense, the wall in Mexico, because a lot comes in through there. And I would, the late Jim Trafficant, who I spent the last 6 trips with him before he made his quizzical death. He was the former congressman from Youngstown. Somebody once stood up in 1991 on Phil Donahue and said, put him in charge of the drug war. If Trafficant was in charge of it, it would really be a war, meaning that a lot of our agents have been playing footsies with some of the have been corrupted and been playing footsies with the drugs over the years. We need a real war on drugs for the sake of the young people.
Mr. Davidson.
Yeah, one of the biggest surprises of this campaign is how pervasive heroin in particular is. So when you talk about the war on drugs, generally folks want to talk about legalizing marijuana. But there has to be a line somewhere where we say, no, we're going to actually put an end to demand. Because if all you do is attack the suppliers, that's the easy political thing, these evil drug dealers. All you're really going to do from an economic perspective is change the market price. The root issue is demand. And if people don't quit demanding it, you're going to keep having suppliers no matter what the price is. So we have to put an end to demand. And it can be as simple as return to Nancy Reagan and say, just say no. That moral force carries some weight. But you do have to look at the things that are really the drivers. And a lot of it comes to the same things that are breaking down our communities and our families, the kind of safe structures. But there's other things where you look at, opioid painkillers are the big gateway that leads to heroin in particular. And so, as ubiquitous as those painkillers have become, we have to look at how to control it.
Next question, please.
There seems to be a lot of public distrust, a lot of public angst at Congress these days. I hear the word do nothing Congress a lot. Even Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill were able to work together to get things done. Newt Gingrich and President Bill Clinton, though they had their battles, seemed to be able to work together and get things done. As a congressman for the 8th District, how will you reach across the aisle and compromise to get things done?
Mr. Condit.
I would only reach across the aisle to people that agreed with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I want division between people that are against our Constitution and Bill of Rights and those of us that aren't. This idea that we need to work together with the latest Trotskyite communists that came down the pike, I keep using that term because that is who is running, it's a brain twister, they're running the big banks. Communism is for you and me, not for them. But I want to only cooperate. I want to stigmatize those who are against our Constitution and Bill of Rights, drive them out of office, put all people in there that agree with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and do what's right. I want to do nothing. If this Congress does nothing, I'm happy. It's like that one historical figure said, the only time your property is safe is when the legislature's not in session. So I'm in favor of only a Congress that would return us to constitutional principles and honest issue of money, which I may still have a chance to get into tonight.
Mr. Davidson.
It's absolutely dependent upon people that are there to solve problems. So, constrained by our Constitution, Article 1 has been trampled on, and Congress has been leading the trampling party. And the legislature, by all means, should be getting things done. I think that's a clear message of this election. That's part of why I got in this race. I was pretty happy with what I was doing and running manufacturing companies here in Troy. But you look at it and go, surely somebody's more creative in this. I haven't been in a committee room yet. Hopefully there's some whiteboards somewhere where people are committed to solving a problem. And that's where a lot of the rhetoric, like the VA, you talk about fix the VA. Both parties run on that. Both parties want to talk about the problem. My first bill that I want to put up, Congress shall have no other health benefit than the VA health benefit, effective January 1st, 2019. It does not propose a solution, but it does put everyone under the same conditions with a deadline that is meant to ensure that Congress is intent on solving it.
Mr. Foister.
Well, if I get to Congress, let me just say this. I'll put America before political ideology because I'm doing it. I'm running here. I think we all should run because we care about the country, not about scoring points for political parties. So I'll work with anybody. All 434 other members of Congress, I'll talk to them. I don't care who it is, how conservative, how liberal they are. I think it's great. I think this is what this country needs, is somebody who would step up and be like, hey, both sides get together. We focus so much on division, but Ted Kennedy was best friends with some of the most conservative members of the U.S. Senate. So if Republicans can get along with Ted Kennedy, then we all can work together. So, and basically the key thing is, don't focus on divisive issues. Focus on cybersecurity, infrastructure, the environment, stuff that shouldn't be a bipartisan issue.
Next question.
Former Rep. John Boehner was very open about his faith and how it was through his faith that he was able to find political compromise. If elected, what will you lean on to get you through political compromise?
Mr. Davidson.
Well, certainly faith, that's the first and most important thing to me. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, but also love your neighbor as yourself. And so I think that's a big part of service. Public service should have that mindset. There's no greater example of service to mankind than Jesus Christ. In our country, Constitution is the grounding. It's been the glue that's held our country together. Unfortunately, we've got Supreme Court justices that don't believe our Constitution should be emulated by others. They don't honor our Constitution. Souter's writing a book about how bad our Constitution is. Ginsburg's over talking to other countries on how to form it better so that instead of our rights being divine in the state of nature, they're given to them and granted by the powers of government. And so the enemy of our Constitution is really the enemy of our country.
Mr. Foister.
I'll get through every day by thinking of all the people that I'm definitely helping out in Congress. But also, I always look back every day. I see life as a gift because as a stage 4 cancer survivor, I realized that I might not even be here today. I was lucky. So, so I take every day as a gift, and I won't waste the opportunity, just like I haven't wasted in life, to do great things.
Mr. Condit.
Little nod to Mr. Foister here. I agree with him that when a principle is not at stake, we should do everything we can to compromise. And I think Mr. Davidson would probably say that too. So helping the drug addicted, we need to be compassionate, like in the gospel. That, to me, by Mr. Boehner, is and when I ran against him in the past, I never mentioned him by name in a commercial or anything, but that is a quizzical statement. Our faith should help us compromise where there's no principle involved. But our faith has to stop us from compromising where there's a principle involved. And, Mr. Boehner and Mr. Ryan now, heads of the Republican Party, I've been a registered Republican most of my life, they do what they know won't work. They send to Obama's bill a thing to outlaw funding for abortion. But they won't do what will work. The House of Representatives, if they don't give Planned Parenthood any money or Obamacare any money, it can't go anywhere. They won't do that because they're afraid of the media. So I wish his faith would have inspired him to not compromise.
Okay, thank you. Next question, please.
I would just like to know what your message to the farmers in the 8th Congressional District is.
Mr. Foister.
My message to them is that I will fight for you. And one of my main focuses is that I want people to start focusing on buying local, shopping local, supporting small business, and also getting food for locally grown over, getting outside of the district. I think it's a very important thing. There's a pit problem, so there's a lot of different stuff that we could do. I think too much in Congress we focus on helping corporate farms. We need to help the family farms over the corporate farms.
Mr. Condit.
I would help the farmers the way I would try to help everyone else and get American national credit, historically called social credit, which is a terrible name for America because it sounds like socialism. Get money issued properly. It would put $6 trillion more money in the pockets of the people. We have a gap between goods and services and the cash, 15 trillion and 9 trillion in cash in circulation. That needs to be, and then the farmers and everyone would thrive. Now, until that's done, I would make sure the farmers were thriving. It isn't the bankers and the people, the lawyers that keep us fed. It's the farmers. So I would do whatever could be done to keep the farmers thriving until we got money issued properly and there was enough money to help them all survive. So that's what I would do for the farmers. And just like the coal mines, same principle, get the people that make our country go working again, not outlaw coal like Hillary wants to do, when it's one of our greatest, even if it isn't the best energy source, it's a good energy source. We have 1,000 years of coal energy, I think. Yeah.
Mr. Davidson.
Our farmers feed the world. They don't just feed the United States. We lead the world in farm production. We lead the world in exports with ag, and trade is great for our farmers. We would have huge issues if we don't keep the path to trade for our farmers out there. And so I would definitely work to help them continue that historically strong role that they've played in trade for the United States. They do feed us as well. And so in doing that, they face some barriers. They face high tax rates that have gone up. They face high regulation. Dodd-Frank was targeted at Wall Street, but they're hurting working capital for family farms. So we need to focus on regulation that really matters and get that out of the hair of small businesses and farms, which are small businesses by and large. Some of them are big, but they need the support. We need to protect them from government overreach. In our district, Waters of the U.S. is an overreach by the EPA to kind of direct every little puddle of water on a farm, and we need to get it out of their hair.
Next question, please.
Do you believe in expanding the war on terrorism in the Middle East with more American troops on the ground? Why or why not?
Mr. Condit.
Donald Trump has not accidentally, he said a few things I don't know if people caught. Senator Rand Paul and him have both said that ISIS was created by the United States and Israel abandoning $1 billion worth of equipment. Do you know that's when ISIS suddenly became a world threat? Both Trump and Rand Paul have said that. We need to look at the real causes of terror. I don't believe the war on terror as it's presented to us. I was going to mention false flags in my initial statement, and this is probably going to be the most shocking thing I'm going to say, and I don't mean to come here to offend or to shock. Israel and its agents were behind 9/11. Though it was blamed on the Muslims, and they're still doing fake terror attacks. And they're talking now, ISIS is going to get a bomb and nuke one of our cities. So if people don't understand who did 9/11, they can't figure anything else out. On LetFreedomRing2016.com, LetFreedomRing2016, I got several hour-long presentations tying that Israel did that.
Mr. Davidson.
I'm Warren Davidson. I stand with Israel. I strongly disagree with Mr. Condit. That has been historically a bipartisan issue, and if you look at our national security, that has historically been a bipartisan issue, so strong that it really united us through the Cold War. And we need to look at what is the United States' role in the world post-Cold War. We really still haven't figured that out. And we had, on the one hand, the FBI kind of approach, law enforcement, read Miranda rights, not in favor of that. We had the other side that wanted to occupy and fight a terrain war in a large part of the Middle East, and that definitely was not effective. And I am for a targeted war that is focused on defeating terror networks, ISIS among them. And there are various jihad groups. These are real serious threats. In '98, Al-Qaeda bombed our embassies in Africa, and we could have dealt with them. The world learned more than they ever needed to know about the actual masterminds of 9/11.
Thank you.
Al-Qaeda.
Mr. Foister.
I think putting more ground troops in the Middle East is a very bad idea. because you look at the first war in Iraq, that didn't solve much. You look at the next war in Iraq, you look at Afghanistan, Syria, all these places, and it just, everything's getting worse. It's not, ground troops isn't the thing. The thing is that Egypt and all these other countries, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, they have ground troops. They have Air Force. They have all this stuff. They could take out ISIS and other threats. So we're spending all this money, and basically the Middle East is just a big money pit. And we haven't got everybody they replace, like Saddam, everybody that they take out, and they replace like Gaddafi in Libya, they get replaced by somebody even more insane. And it just, our current plan isn't working. And putting ground troops and American soldiers' lives on the line isn't worth it.
Next question.
Earlier, there was talk about how John Boehner's speakership took away from his focus on the 8th Congressional District. If elected, what will you do if faced with an opportunity to rise through party ranks?
Mr. Davidson.
Well, I think, if the reason that you're rising through party ranks is we're actually getting things done and the people of the country want those things done, it would be an honor to continue to serve. I think the thing you have to do, though, is put a structure in place. I think last year Speaker Boehner was out of the district about 270 days. And I think there's a way to lead, especially with modern technology, without spending 270 days out of your district.
Mr. Foister.
I have no interest in building my political career. I just want to help out everybody in the 8th District. I personally, if I'm lucky enough to serve, I only want 3 terms because I think I can do basically all I can do. And if either I have the results or I don't have the results, I think it's time to move on. Look at the Supreme Court. And look at the U.S. Senate. There's so many people that's been there that's made a career out of it for years, and they need to go. So I think it's a great thing, and I think it sends a strong message when people, even Boehner, when he just said it's time to go. Because you look at people like Justice Scalia, it's like nobody should be dying on the job. It's like eventually you got to know it's time's up, time for a new face. It's time to pass the torch to somebody else. So I have no interest in building a political career in Washington, D.C.
Mr. Condit.
I didn't answer the last question. No ground troops on the ground in the Middle East, unless it's for a quick in and quick out to destroy our equipment that we abandoned to ISIS accidentally. The only thing I would look at is if first of all, I would not rise in the ranks. I would be caucusing by myself in Congress like the late Jim Traficant did. But I would say what should be looked at is with all the money that's spent in the country, should more be given to the Congress to have staff on the ground in their districts. So I'd have to see how many people are upset they're not being served fast enough. But outside of that, a congressman's job at this juncture in history, besides serving their constituents, is to give direction on these key issues that I'm talking about tonight as much as I can, like how money should be issued. Pro-life, I don't agree that the social issues are meaningless. Killing 60 million unborn babies in the last 50 years is an outrage before God and man, and some of the other things like these false flag operations, which maybe I'll get to talk about a little more, got to be looked at.
Next question.
This is a 2-part question from the audience. If elected, what do you promise the residents of the district, and will you be available locally?
Mr. Foister.
Yes, I'll always be available locally. One of the things I think it's really a bold idea. I think I'm the only one suggesting this. I actually would like to be in the district every weekend. So I think it's great to get out and talk, because if you stay somewhere, you get trapped in a bubble. It doesn't even matter. It's not even really Washington, D.C., but if you get in a certain groove in life, you'll stay in this bubble. So I think it's definitely, and what I'll offer the people is jobs. I think we need not only jobs, but good paying jobs. We got the people like where I come from, Butler County, we got Miami University, Oxford, and we lose all this great talent, all these great minds, because we don't have the infrastructure built to keep these people. So I'm the only one talking about tech startup jobs. I think it'd be great for Butler County to lead Ohio and hopefully even the nation in tech startups, clean energy. There's all this great stuff because so many brilliant minds are leaving the district. So
Mr. Condit.
Yeah, I would only promise what I'm saying here, that I would try to offer leadership that would help correct the major problems of our time, like the the bad issuing of money by the Fed that's at least 100 years out of date. As far as serving the people, though, again, I would see if some of these franking privileges where the congressmen mail out, and I think most people throw the mail away, move those to radio ads and TV ads if you could get that done legally, to tell people, our people will be at this place and this place and this high school this Saturday, and then see how many people came forth that said, I'm not getting help. I don't really know what it is. I don't hear over my lifetime a lot of people saying, I can't get my congressman to take care of my personal problems. It seems like most of the congressmen are pretty good at that. Even Boehner, I didn't hear a lot of people saying, I've been trying to get something done. I mean, we need congressmen to be able to focus on the VA, for heaven's sakes, at least part of what's going on. So I wouldn't make any lavish promises except to try to get money issued right so everybody could thrive, all races, the middle class, the lower middle class, everybody could thrive.
Thank you. Mr. Davidson.
My primary promise, if I'm elected, is to return to active service with the same oath I swore before. I solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And we have some domestic enemies, and we have some people that believe in the science behind climate change, but refuse to deal with the math on balancing the budget. So I promise to do the things I've campaigned on, and to try to amplify the voice of people in this district to make sure that the people in D.C., the other members of Congress, are paying attention to the things that our folks here are jumping up and down about, like balancing the budget, like protecting our liberties, like restoring the principles in our Constitution, like growing our economy with proven science, like that grows our we have the best markets, we have the best for so much, but we're doing things that are killing growth rates, and so I promise to be a strong advocate for that.
Next question, please.
As a candidate for Congress, how do you propose creating a balanced budget if elected?
Mr. Condit.
Again, on LetFreedomRing2016.com, go to the section on money, which I think is Section 5, American National Credit. We could get out of debt in a few years if money was issued properly, but we cannot continue to let the Fed and the families behind the Fed and Goldman Sachs and the IMF and the Bank of Settlements skim trillions off the top to implement their world agenda. That's what's happening. That's why they're trying to now subdue Europe with the $17 trillion that they got from the bailout. And that $17 trillion in the 2008 bailout could have paid off every credit card and mortgage in the United States. So we need to issue money properly. The economy would be booming within 4 months, and within 5 years, the legitimate debts could be paid off, balance the budget. A lot of the interest that the Federal Reserve has charged our country, that would be repudiated, and I would be for putting those people on trial for sophisticated theft for the last 100 years. But even if we just sent them home, bye-bye, your job's done.
Thank you. Mr. Davidson.
Number one is step one in dealing with a problem is admit you have one. The math does not work, and so it's really not a matter of policy, it's just math. Now, beyond that, the principle of we do need to balance our budget, we can't get consensus on that. We've been watching this year as people debate whether to spend $30 billion more for defense or to really hold the line on the discretionary budget, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, well, I think it's off by like about $500 billion, not $30 billion one way or the other. So you got to confront the problem, and you got to be serious about it. So a few years ago, Admiral Mullen, when asked what was the greatest threat to national security, he did not say climate change. He said the debt. And so the rate of spending we've got, it is not compassionate. These programs, some of them are very compassionate, but it is not compassionate to destroy the value of our money. It's not compassionate to bankrupt our country. And so we really have to sit down and prioritize and do it with a serious deadline.
Mr. Foister.
Well, I'm willing to listen to any ideas about how to balance the budget, but the thing is, it's not just math, because everybody has their own math. We can't even agree on what the math is. So here's the thing. There's a lot of ideas of how to balance the budget, but the main thing is, this is what I don't support. I don't support cutting education to balance the budget, because we can have a balanced budget, but when our kids are lagging behind China and Russia and other places in math and science, it doesn't matter if we have a balanced budget. When our roads are crumbling, it doesn't matter if we have a balanced budget. So first, we got to invest. It's not really a question of balancing the budget. It's what are we spending the money on? And a lot of the money is going over in the money pit over in the Middle East. So we got to redirect where we're spending. It's not really balancing the budget. It's what we're spending it currently on that's getting us in the red.
Next question, please.
51% of adults have said they oppose President Obama's order telling schools to allow transgender students to use the bathroom corresponding to their gender identity rather than their biological sex. Where do you stand on the issue?
Mr. Davidson.
I completely oppose the president or Congress or anyone nationally. We don't need a national bathroom policy. I don't think we need a state bathroom policy. I don't think we need a City of Troy bathroom policy. But I don't think that it makes sense to, have a large shower facility, gym facility, where you're mixing sexes, particularly in schools. And we dealt with that already right here in Troy. And the issue is the threat of lawsuits. So it's the fear and the financial risk that they're trying to leverage. It's a massive overreach, and we need to put an end to it. It's also a big distraction from bigger issues, like the National Security Policy Advisor talking about how he lied to Congress and the public about the Iran deal, which is a horrible deal. It's something thrown out there to throw a lot of confusion behind a bad news cycle.
Mr. Foister.
This is a non-issue. The Republicans are just making this into an issue. Like I said, we focus so much on stuff like this when we could be focusing on infrastructure, on the environment, on just so many other issues, but we want to focus on this, we want to focus on abortion, and we want to focus on gay marriage. This is why the country is divided. This is why it's divided. And it's not just the Republican, it's both sides. We have to fight on social issues, and it's like we shouldn't be electing people that just runs on social issues because nothing gets done, because we're never going to agree. I could talk here for 5 hours, and we still will never agree about abortion, but the thing is, we want our kids to be smart. We want great education. We want to get the road, perfect roads, preferably. We don't like potholes. So there's a lot of issues. Cybersecurity also. We got to get off of the social issues.
Mr. Condit.
God will not bless a country that violates his moral laws, which have been known for millennia. There's a spiritual battle behind everything that's going on. These de facto Satanists, like President, and I put President in quotes, he's never in a legal form produced a birth certificate. Obama is a de facto Satanist. I don't know if he is a literal one. They're trying to jam as much moral rot and vomit down our throats as they can. They need to be impeached. They need to be put on trial. They need to be thrown out. Things like, there's one rule when it comes to bathrooms. Check your body. Whatever equipment you have, you go to that bathroom. Anything else is such pure insanity, it's beyond description almost, except I'm trying to describe it. So there's a spiritual war. Let's not shrink from all these de facto Satanists and Trotskyite communists in the Obama administration and with Hillary Clinton, the Democrats generally, most Democrats I call Democrats. Let's stand up for God's law, which has been known for millennia through the Bible and a few other ways.
Last question.
All three of you were on the ballot in March, again on June 7th, and a third time on November 8th. By November 8th, how much will you have spent in your campaign for Boehner's seat? An estimate is fine.
Mr. Foister.
Well, not as much as my Republican opponent, to make it simple. I'm not backed by big money. I don't have the support of Citizens United. I think it's bad that we have dark money. We have people buying politicians. We got the Koch brothers. I think it's awful. So, I'm not going to spend a bunch of money because I don't have the money. But I believe I have the ideas, and I have the heart. It's like I'm a big Mets fan, so that's why I know this is a tough race, but I like torture. I like a tough challenge. I'm a Mets and I'm a New York Jets fan, and there was one guy from the New York Mets, and I have like his poster up on my wall, and it says, "You got to have heart," and that's what I have because, I don't have the money, I don't have the infrastructure, but I have heart, and you got to fight. You have to have the good ideas, and just put it out there. You might not win, but always fight for what you believe in. Always speak out.
Mr. Condit.
I've so far, unfortunately, only raised about $5,000. I'm hoping to raise $100,000 more, but it's not looking good. But I do spend it mostly on media ads. I have a show from 2 to 3 p.m. the next 3 weeks on WKRC, which you can get on 55krc.com if you can't get WKRC this far up. Yeah, I've tried to raise, but I have not figured out how to get what needs to happen, which is with someone behind some of the ideas I'm saying, a few thousand people donating $10 a month so we can really teach people about the precincts, how to get in the precincts and change the parties and things. So I'm kind of taking time to comment on other things. We needed to explain to people how money should be issued in this machine age, this computer age, this age of plenty. But unfortunately, sir, only about $5,000 so far.
Mr. Davidson.
We had a pretty competitive Republican race, 15 people in it. It's a large district. You've got two media markets, Cincinnati and Dayton. And it's really hard to win votes if no one knows who you are. So we were really fortunate to be able to raise the money. We had over 1,700 individual contributors to our campaign. I think the smallest contribution was $2. I was the largest individual donor to our campaign. And between March 16th and June 7th, we'll spend substantially less than we spent from January till March 15th.
Okay, this concludes the question and answer section of this evening's program. So candidates, you'll give your closing remarks. You may have 2 minutes to make those remarks from your seat. So we will begin with Mr. Foister.
I just want to say thanks for coming out. This is what makes our democracy so great, when we have 3 major parties up here debating. Because I'm only 26, so as a 26-year-old, growing up with social media, it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because we don't talk to each other. None of my friends talk on the phone and stuff, and you get on Twitter and you get on Facebook. And this is what I ask. I mean, I'd love to have your support, but I just want to talk about you for a minute. Talk to the other side. No matter what you are, Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, talk to the other side, because our country is only going to get more and more divided if we divide ourselves. So don't hold back. I mean, look at me. I'm a stage 4 cancer survivor. I've been lucky to reach age 26. Just go out and do what you want to do. Don't hold back. Don't procrastinate in life, and just give it your best. Just like I was mentioning before, you've got to have heart. Do it and fight. If I'm elected, if I'm lucky enough, even if it's just for 7 months, I think I can make a difference. Like I said, we definitely need to focus on infrastructure. Infrastructure is not a bipartisan issue. The terrible tragedy that happened in Minnesota in the Twin Cities back in 2007 when that bridge fell in, that could happen anywhere. That could happen in Cincinnati. We have to get beyond politics, and we got to fix stuff. We really do. And it's not just about yelling about social issues. That's people who basically focus on social issues, they're not leaders. We need somebody who's going to seriously address the major issues. Cybersecurity. Every day, so many people get their identity stolen, and Washington, D.C. doesn't have a plan. And we still won't. We won't have one tomorrow. We won't have one next month. So definitely think about who you want representing you and what issues is the representative going to bring up when he gets to Congress. Thank you.
Mr. Davidson.
June 7th, there's another election. This time you can vote early, but unlike last time, you cannot vote often. So previously there were 2 primaries on the ballot. I was honored to win the Republican primary for the June 7th special election, and I was also honored to win the Republican primary for the November 8th primary. It would be a huge honor to win the June 7th election, so please get out and vote. I'd appreciate your vote. I'd appreciate you encouraging your friends and neighbors to vote. And November 8th, there will be another one. It's hard to imagine that whomever wins this one could be an incumbent by November 8th. So, it's an interesting time. I'm looking forward to our district having a representative in D.C. We've been without one since October 31st, and it would be just an amazing honor to be that person. So I think when you look at what we're facing as a country, it's a time sort of like when Reagan ran in his time as president. He's the guy that said, "I'm with the Republican wing of the Republican Party." It was a time when people were questioning, what does this party stand for? Is it all about winning elections, or is it actually about ideas? In this election, it really is about ideas. In some cases, it's about math, just fundamentally sound math. We have PhDs in math supporting Bernie Sanders. It's unbelievable. So we really do need to get out and vote on June 7th. It's going to be a voter turnout thing. In November, we need to get out and support a candidate that really is going to change the course of the country. So elections have consequences. I think Barack Obama said that. We've been hungry for those consequences as we took back the Congress with the Republican win in the House, as we took back the Senate, and we haven't seen it happen. So I'm anxious to get there and be part of the solution. I think it's a chance to really make a difference, and I will be around for a while afterwards. Hopefully by now everyone's heard about Warren Davidson. Hopefully he gets a chance to actually know me. And if you didn't get your question answered, I'd love to answer it.
Mr. Condit.
Jim Condit Jr., my website is Let Freedom Ring 2016, kind of rhymes, letfreedomring2016.com. Go there for information you'll have a hard time finding anywhere else. It's very extensive. By the way, I'm not against Israel. I just, a little addendum. I hope nobody else gets killed over there. On the other hand, I'm not like a 1,000% no matter what Netanyahu says. There are a lot of Jewish people that oppose what Netanyahu does. Even Bernie Sanders, who's a Jewish guy, said, hey, if you criticize Netanyahu, doesn't mean you're anti-Semitic. So, but the two things I want to comment on the rest of the time here is, if you issue too much money without goods and services, you get inflation. If you issue money to about equal the goods and services, that's what should happen. And if you have too little money, you have what our country had in the phony Great Depression that was also caused by the same thing, pouring in all the money. You had all the goods and services and people, but suddenly you had no money in 1930. The bankers had pulled it in. So you got to issue money to equal goods and services. That should be done by a dividend to every adult to make in the gap. Okay, that is what you can study at letfreedomring2016.com. One of the most important things, I really hope that my opponents really study it too, because we need to make it clear how to issue money in an age of plenty. We also have the problem, if we don't focus on the Mossad, Israel CIA, that's motto is make war by way of deception, the only organization in the world with a bad motto. We've got to focus on that. We're going to have one terror attack after another, and there is a plan to bring this country down and make you and me communist, under communism. Commune, a big commune where we own nothing, and the people at the top, the bankers own everything, a few cliques. That's communism for you and your grandkids and me and we got to stop that. And no time left, but go to letfreedomring2016.com. Plenty of videos, plenty of writing there. And I thank you all for your kind attention. And no booze or any fruit thrown while I was talking. Thank you.
This concludes tonight's forum. We'd like to thank the candidates. Thanks audience members for being so well behaved. Remember to vote on June 7th and have a safe trip home.